Hi everyone. This will be a continuation of my Octopath Traveler commentary for my level 1 speedrun. So we left off with buying the boat. After we buy the boat, we'll be going onto the sea and collecting some items on the sea. There's not like a huge urgency to get the boat, but it is nice because we will want one of the rusty weapons that you gain with access to it. And then also there's some jams and some other things that you can pick up, which are nice. Also, since the boat makes back a lot of the money that you spend on it, it's better to buy the boat sooner and then use the money that you get back for other stuff. Alternatively, you could spend the money you get on other stuff, and then you'll have to make more money to get back the boat to afford the boat. But anyways, over here I will put a step ahead on Casty because there's a chance you can get an encounter, and at this point it's a little bit difficult to defeat the encounter, so we will just put it to sleep if we get an encounter. And that previous item I just got was worth 50k, but there's a slight encounter chance there, and then up here there's a reasonably high encounter chance going to the shield up here. This shield is actually a little bit annoying because we can buy one later, but because of the point that we buy it at, it comes so late that it's not as helpful. We want to get this sooner because we do have some provokes, some challenges, and some mugs. So having it sooner is nicer because it gives a nice HP bonus. And that's also in addition to all of the armor we get too. All that together helps us survive certain things that we want to survive. Although I think it might be possible to route it out. I need to test it more. Here I should have taken a step ahead off of Casty, but it's fine. We do 2 spears and that defeats the guy pretty quick and easy. And this allows us to recruit Temenos. So earlier when I was recruiting Ochette, I took off all of Hikari's weapons and armor and such, and then I put it onto Partisho to have him be our catapulter. That's because we wanted to kick Hikari out after he did his bribe, and after we kick Hikari out we can put Temenos in, and Temenos has defense down, which is useful as his automatic special ability in nighttime battles. And then we sell the 50k item that we picked up, which is the statue, and with that money we can buy the Great Blade, and that is the second of 3 items we need for an invention coming up. So as far as jobs and support skills, we don't actually get a ton of the base jobs because we only have access to the first 2 skills, and most jobs it's not useful to get their get the job because we don't have access to the better stuff. Like for example, most speedruns will get merchant if you pass by merchant, but we will not get merchant because we only have access to rest and arrow of fortune, which is not that useful. So here I think that I should have actually just defeated this cat because then I could skip some money, but I wasn't really thinking and I decided to just let it flee. But right after this thing fled I realized, oh, I could have just defeated it and gotten some money because I do have some spare soul stones right now. But I didn't defeat it and I was being silly, so here I have to pick up this money chest right here, and that's a little slower. And this is actually less money than the Kate would give you. I believe the Kate would give you 10k, that was 7.2k. But it's fine. It's a relatively safe chest to get if you walk it, so. And then we'll go to the next town as well. So we pass by an NPC. Ochette can actually provoke and flee that NPC, and then that will give us a decent chance of getting to the town. But it's not actually guaranteed, I believe. So I'd rather take that encounter, which is static. It'll always be the same every time. And then Partisha will always defeat it if you toss a boosted spear catapult. And it has to be spear. You need the bonus damage from spear. You can't just toss sword. Okay, so I bought some palms, and then this is the third and final item we need for the invention, which is the soldier's bow. I mentioned earlier that we could buy the soldier's bow in Clockbank, and when I went there I didn't have the money to buy it though, so that's why I didn't route it in that way. Here I paused there because I was gonna rotate day and night and only move in during the day, but I actually needed this specific shop, so because it spawned first, which is really lucky, I decided to just walk it in the nighttime and buy it, because we do need some stuff from this herb shop, which is just pomegranate leaves, which you can't buy anywhere else, so you have to get them here. Then, you know, some attacking materials for dark, light, and wind, and then also diffusing serum, which is an AoE concoct material. And after I've bought that, I am good, so I can go to the soulstone shop now. And I delayed this trip because I just want to make one trip, and now that I have extra money, and now that I don't have to buy anything for the boat or anything, I can just blow all my cash on soulstones and other stuff if necessary. Here, I get this, which is the cat, and I realized that I could just actually defeat it, and then buy the soulstone to replace it. Because the soulstone shop is actually still up. I didn't rotate it away in time, and I just replaced it right away because the cat gives you 3k or something like that. It's not exactly like a fast thing to do, but if I catapulted, those cats have a high evasion, so they could dodge it. That's why I tossed the soulstone and just bought a replacement. Also, I was really lucky there, by the way. Getting the herb shop and then the soulstone shop back to back is pretty much optimal. So that was nice. It's just that because I got it so soon, I was moving in the nighttime, and then I'll get the encounter sooner. But it's still better to just get that, I think, than to keep rotating, because you can rotate for like 20 or 30 trips. Also, that's one of the reasons why I don't go to the soulstone shop sooner, because if I go sooner, I think I have to make like 2 trips to get the number of stones I needed or something, and also to get the number of herb materials I needed. So I decided to delay it until I can buy it all at once, and that way I don't have to make more than 1 trip. But it's still not quite optimal. I could probably reduce the number of soulstones there, but that's a problem for another run or another day or something. This, I was getting my tests and stuff. I would probably route this out, honestly. I don't use that many palm L's, and this is not that useful. Although I don't actually think it gets you an extra encounter, so it's probably fine. It might be fine too. I don't know. In general, we do use a lot of pomegranates later in the run, specifically for Oshat. You'll see that later. Also, I mentioned that I was thinking about defeating the cats for money, so that's what I tried to do here, and I tossed the wrong soulstone, so I just messed up, and I waste time. But it's fine, it happens. I heal up here because I'll be going to the higher level maps and stuff, and I don't want to mess up in case like I don't defeat one in time or something. I also put on Step Ahead because I need Cassidy to put enemies to sleep again. This is the level 40-ish area, and I think it's the first level 40-ish area we go to, aside from Clockbank's tower, where we got the spear. This is the second most dangerous place, I guess, that we go to so far. But we can put them to sleep and then flee, so that's nice. And we have 2 people Step Ahead because Cassidy will put one person to sleep and the other person will be able to flee. So even if the enemies go first on the turn order, we can defend and then go ahead of them. Here it's better for me to just run, but my first run I was nervous and not playing fully optimally. You never are able to reach the town in time, so you always get a second encounter. And because you always get a second encounter, it's better to run sooner. But I was walking up until this point, but whatever. After we tag timbering, we actually leave right away because we want to get a weapon in the southwest or in the west. I mentioned earlier that there was an accuracy weapon that was really quite nice, the Forbidden Axe, and we're actually gonna go get that right now. For the amount of accuracy it gives, it's the highest attack weapon that we can get that Inventor can put on, and that's useful for us because we want to basically use that Forbidden Axe to clear encounters toward the end of the game. Having the accuracy from the axe will allow us to skip putting on the accuracy bracelet, and then we can put on the champion's belt instead, and that'll give us a lot more firepower than the spear we have on right now. So it would be a net gain of like 130 or something physical attack, and then once we get upgraded accessories, which is the next support skill we get, I believe, that will get us like 180 or something extra physical attack, and that's really useful for clearing mobs, especially at the very end of the game. You'll see the setup we use. The nighttime segment is especially bad, so we want a way to clear enemies quickly and reliably. This map is a little strange. It has a very low encounter chance. If you walk the entire map, you're guaranteed no encounter by getting the axe and the Great Bunch only. And you can even run a little bit of that and you're still completely safe. So that's what I do. And you don't get an encounter. Even if you get the encounter, it's actually not that bad. Because it's like a single enemy and you just break it with sword and you're good. So just now I put on a step ahead on everyone. That's actually not quite optimal. I should actually probably wait until the next map and after I defeat the first enemy, then put on step ahead. But I think I was just nervous from my first run or so. You want step ahead on everyone because coming up ahead there's going to be two monsters you want Oshat to capture if possible. And it's a little bit more convenient when doing captures to have everyone have step ahead. The only issue is like it's a little awkward because you want Oshet to have step ahead for you want everyone to have step ahead for the captures, but if it's an enemy you're not capturing, then you want to just you want only Particio to have step ahead. And here I messed up. I was not supposed to do that. And after I realized I messed up, I just decided to run. You're not supposed to defeat those two things to the side. And there I was like pausing because I was looking at my notes. We're trying to capture a wild mole, which is like the rightmost thing you saw there. And then also one of the meeps, the butter meeps that happened that night. Originally, I was putting catapult on Oshet and then having her just clear all the enemies in here. And just by chance, she would happen to capture a meep. But then eventually I started getting runs where or practices where I didn't capture anything, and that was really bad. So I decided to just put step ahead on and guarantee the capture with soul stones. And I go to night because you have a higher chance of getting meep, which I do here. I think it's like 5% or 10% chance, more chance, and that is important. Any M stone will reduce them to 100% capture, and then another M stone will clear the mob. And that's what I do here. And I also got money along the way, as you saw there. So, because you're not guaranteed the meep, I actually routed in extra random stuff to do in these maps while running around to spend time. And the last thing we need is the mole here, the rightmost mole or the topmost mole. It doesn't really matter which one. We're just only capture one of them. So the top one I hit below like 920 or so. There's like a very tight threshold that you want to hit, and if you do not hit it, you're not going to have 100% capture. You're going to see the difference in the capture right here: 18%, 100%, and that can be because of just a few different points of damage. So I captured the 100% one, and then the other ones I broke so I could flee. Here I disable auto capture monsters because we don't want Oshet capturing random stuff anymore. It's just gonna waste time, and we don't really need anything else. Like there's definitely some monsters that would actually be convenient to capture, but on average it will lose you time. So it's better to just take it off. When I was doing this run, I was looking at notes occasionally, so I would mess up sometimes, like there where I ran into the pole. And here, I don't actually need to get the money, but I had routed it in, and I wasn't sure if I was safe from skipping it, so that's why I get the money over here. And you'll see that I'm launching axe right here. That's because some enemies in these maps are a little bit too strong for our spear to clear, and I didn't remember which one, so I just launched axe at all of them. And the axe is a little bit stronger than spear. I think it has like 324 and spear has like either 270 or 290. And those couple points like 20 or 30 or whatever does make a difference for clearing some enemies. Also has more accuracy, so if there is a chance that I can miss, it's less chance now. It has like 80 accuracy compared to the 50 that the bracelet has, so we gain 30 accuracy with it. This is Oshet's other chapter 2, so she has 3 chapter 2s and then 1 final chapter 3. We get an olive M here for safety. It's not really necessary though, but it is nice. It heals more than regular olives in case we want to full heal someone and I mess up the script and such. We have the butter meeps thing already. Also, I want to mention you want to convert to food outside of the town, because if you convert after this cutscene, you get extra dialogue with the bird, with the owl that you have as your partner. And this is the final thing we need for the invention, the axe. And now we can get upgraded accessories, which is a very important support skill. Alongside Step Ahead, it'll be on all of our characters. And basically it increases the accessory by 50% stat-wise for any accessory you have. So for example, the Champion's Belt usually gives 100 attack and 100 crit. With upgraded accessories, it gives 150 attack, 150 crit. And that is very useful for a lot of the run. We get more damage out of it, and also the HP gear, like the 1000 HP necklace, we get 500 extra HP from it, so it's super useful. And it's back here. Also, the skill we get, Hastening Hammer, is actually extremely powerful. We don't want to reuse the invention to reload it, but it is useful to have on to do damage with, because it hits so hard, and you'll see that in a bit. Here I'm not paying attention. I'm just gonna go out to sea and go get the rusty dagger, but there's a chance of encounter here, which is why I put Casty here sooner. And then also on this boat, you're guaranteed one encounter as well. But because we went to Tropihopu and got sleep material, you're guaranteed to have enough sleep material to put these enemies to sleep, even if you got the maximum number of encounters. I know it looks like I have a sizable number of sleep materials, like 5 or so, but if I had gotten like more encounters in certain parts of the game, I would have a lot less, which is why I routed this like a little conservatively, but it's fine. This rusty dagger is useful because it sells for 100k and helps us get peak performance, which is a useful support skill. I used to get the rusty staff, but it takes about 7 encounters, and that's a lot of extra encounters when you could just take 2 to get the dagger. So it's way better to just take the dagger. Also, the encounters going to the staff are actually pretty dangerous. You can defeat them, but you have to stay at nighttime, and you don't want to stay at nighttime because then you get extra encounters. Here in the top right, there's another bewitching perfume. I should have bought that. That would have saved me like 3 minutes or something with the final boss, but whatever. I stopped getting it because I stopped using it in my test runs and in the practice fights, but it really is safer just to have an extra, especially if you're careless with them like I am. The rusty polearm is the second, or the third rusty weapon we get, and yeah, now we will go and get peak performance. We're gonna leave Casty with Step Ahead here. We're not gonna take it off because soon we're gonna go to these higher level maps, and we want her to put enemies to sleep again still. So we skip merchant because we don't need it. It doesn't do anything. There's a couple jobs we skip. It has to have a relatively useful skill for us to get amongst the base jobs, and that's only a hunter and warrior, really. I think. I guess a thief as well is okay, but most others are just not very useful. Here I used to get Star Splitter, but it does take an extra encounter, and I had thought it wasn't necessary, and it's not technically necessary, but it did mess me up because this is my first run without using Star Splitter. But I do get the Thunder L here. It's nice for some damage, and depending on some random enemies and stuff, it could be good to have. And we do want some L stones later. You'll see. There's some fights where we want to throw some. Not a ton of fights, but some. Yeah, so back here in the top right, there's a Star Splitter sword, which is pretty good. But I had routed it out. I think that I would not route it back in and just use an alternative sword. We do get a sword from Oshet's story chapter. So that is not a great sword, but I think it would work. It would need testing and such. And also, going for the sword, it means an extra encounter, and you generally just want to minimize extra encounters. I mentioned that we had we got one extra slumber stage. It's for this extra thing right here. This is the last usage of slumber stage. knock out the guard, and then get the Arms Master class and also the weapons and such. Alright, and we're gonna menu here. So Warrior is nice because it does some extra damage, but also Aggressive Slash is good for breaking sword weak enemies. And then Hunter is good for breaking, especially with Temenos' Latent. Warrior is actually a little bit better, but I wanted to do some damage with Warrior, so I left it off of him. And then Oshet I wanted as the Inventor because going forward we're gonna have Throne DPS, so we always want an Inventor. Really, in the very beginning of the game, you want Inventor and Arms Master. They're both very useful for damage and utility. Inventor for utility mainly, but Arms Master for damage, and you'll see that in a bit. I don't really need to in here, but I had routed it to say in, so I think it's better to probably just light chi up and use grapes. But so I just got 3 rusty weapons and turned them in for the Arms Master weapons, and they're all useful for like the money they give, or sometimes their skills. But the one I'm going for is the most useful weapon, and that is the Lionheart Axe. And that's going to be used throughout the entire run, and it's super important. Unfortunately, we don't go for it sooner because the boss that guards it has 40,000 HP, and without hired help, he's actually a little annoying to defeat. So I was looking at different sources of DPS and such, and even though you can defeat him with soul stones, you use a lot of soul stones and a lot of extra money. Rather than do that, I decided to just use the Conqueror's Sword. So you're gonna see Cosmic Roar in the speedrun soon. I should probably just go from Sai rather than Wellgrove. I think that might be faster to get to this dungeon, but there's a lot of like finer details I did not test that thoroughly, but whatever. When you're outside of this dungeon, you want to just use Catapult X2. When you're inside, you want to use Catapult X3 to guarantee defeating these enemies. So I defend before I launch the Catapult now. But Oshet has Champion's Belt and the Victory Ring, and also the Forbidden Axe, which gives accuracy, so she's unlikely to miss. And now this is the boss that's coming up that guards the axe that we want. Lionheart Axe. So Cassie has the Unerring Ring, and is just unlikely to miss in general. And then we want to spring Particio because Particio has the Cosmic Roar ability, and that basically does 10% extra damage per action in between the start of the turn and the end of the turn. The start of the attack and the end of the turn. So with Spring Boots, Particio will always go first, or unless someone defends ahead of him, but no one defended ahead of him. So he went first, and then he's able to power up his sword by 10% for every one of these actions that's being taken right now. In addition to that, at the time of launch, if you have buffs or debuffs on the enemy, those are all added. So for example, the attack buff that he just got was added, even though he didn't have the attack buff when he started charging his sword attack. Hastening Hammer, I mentioned we just got this Inventor ability, extremely powerful. It's as strong as Oshet's Latent, and it's actually stronger than Oshet's Latent. This Soulstone is completely unnecessary. It's just me being dumb. You don't need that 2200. It's not even a range or anything. I did not need that. I just was panicky and not practiced. But that was the only usage of Cosmic Roar in the speedrun. But I liked it a lot. Pretty fun, and does a good chunk of damage, 10k. So once you get Lionheart Axe, then you are golden. you're able to defeat the enemies. So we want to leave Partitia in the party because he still gets discounts when you purchase stuff, and we are not done purchasing. We have to purchase that, and we also want to purchase this right here. And now you'll see that I have basically no money left, so I will sell 2 of the Arms Master weapons for 100k each, and that will allow us to buy a lot of sleeping material to put enemies to sleep. In addition to that, because we have the money, we are also going to buy some armor and such, and we still have a lot of extra money left over from selling those armors and such. We're going to buy more empowering bracelets later, but the Imperial armor is useful, at least for Ochette. The other characters don't need it as much, so I could maybe route them out here. But Ochette has some provokes coming up, so it's just useful to have. Honestly, Temenos will also be having some single fights as well because of his path actions, so the armor was helpful for him too. And the final thing we get is the necklace here, while Partitia is still in our party. And now we don't need Partitia anymore, so we're going to boot Partitia. He's been very useful, especially with his Leighton and stuff, but as far as like having a primary Arms Master user, you really want Throne because her Leighton is the strongest in the game. Having an extra turn to do damage when an enemy is broken is just huge, and it allows us to get extra damage in. Especially for Ochette's final boss, you really want Throne to be doing the damage. So now she'll be our final Arms Master for Arms Master for a good portion of the game. Also, because of the order I optimized and put equipment and such on, we could just optimize here. If you did it sooner, the Seraphim Spear could go on top of the Warlord Spear, and you don't really want that. We do take off of the shield off because we want Ochette to have the shield for her provokes. And otherwise, earlier you saw me do a quest in Trapu-Hopu that gave me the Cupid's Bow, which gives accuracy for bow, and that's useful for Temenos right here. So he's less likely to miss, and similarly, that's also why we put the ring on to decrease the chance of misses and such. And Throne will get the first 4 support skills. That's because coming up we will have a boss, and peak performance gives 1.5x damage multiplier if you're at max HP. So that'll be really useful as a damage bump. And it'll be our first like major boss, because Bandolum is kind of a weak boss. But Terra, who's coming up, is sizable and a little chunky for a Chapter 2 boss. So this is the first major story dungeon we're really going to. I mentioned earlier, but you want to run on ladders. It's just better because it doesn't change the encounter rate. So with Ochette's axe, you do a lot of damage, and you're unlikely to miss because it has 80 accuracy, and then 324 attack is pretty good. It's not like super great because, like, for example, BT Blade is 400, but that's like the ultimate, top tier stuff, and the axe is still quite good. So you always want to go to Knight because Throne has an auto buff, and Temenos as well for attack up and defense down. And we're just going to be doing that for the rest of the game pretty much. Going to Knight before bosses that matter for it. Terra's weak to Dark, so we use Concoct. And also Temenos will break here with Precise Bow. It does 4 hits, but his Leighton lets him break with any hit. We use Ice to unlock more weaknesses, and Throne will also unlock more weaknesses. Crit Scope guarantees critical hits, and then the 6-fold strike will unlock the remaining shields. We're doing this because every single weakness that's shown on him gives 10% extra damage for Lionheart Axe. And we need that extra damage actually. And we use Piercing Thrust for extra damage. She has the Seraphim Spear earlier. And Hastening Hammer is also useful for damage. Easily hits 10k. And after we hit his HP's worth of damage, he becomes weakened and we can capture him. If you have a spare turn here, you can steal a spare gem. It's very unnecessary because we have like usually 3 or 4 spares by the end of V-Day's battle. But because I had the chance and it's my first run, I decided to just go for it. You don't really need it or anything. You spawn outside of the town and you actually want to just go to Ivory Ravine right here. That battle just isn't like super efficient. There's different ways to do the battle and I tested different stuff, but I ultimately decided that it doesn't really matter a ton. You're gonna want to use the inn soon, and because of that I decided to just do it that way, because you don't have to put a step ahead back onto people, and then you want Throne to be doing most of the damage anyway with Lionheart. We unlock those weaknesses as I mentioned, just because that does 10% extra damage per weakness. So at this point in the game, we're actually strong enough to defeat this thing with the nighttime buffs. One L-Stone to chip it down a little bit, and then we do have to do a Spear for weakness damage. So you'll see me go to Spear, and then tab back to Axe to get the Axe's damage. But that will be strong enough to defeat these things. You need the Spear's bonus damage though. But this is nice for saving a sleep material. But because I did it slowly, this is actually slower than just putting them to sleep. But it is nice to know that we're strong enough now to defeat these ending chapter low strength enemies. Alright, Ivory Ravine is super dangerous. I really wanted to minimize the encounters here, so we will put everything to sleep if we can, but there's a lot of enemies here. There's some enemies here that don't go to sleep. The Revenant and the Remnant, and for those you have to break them and then flee. And here you'll see me use Latent, and then I unuse Latent, and that's because if you get a Revenant or a Remnant, you have to have Latent on casting, or you really want it anyway. So I decided to not use Latent and to just use regular sleep. If you get a Remnant or a Revenant like right here that I'm about to, I will want to use Casty's Concoct to pull everyone forward in the turn order, but also to help get BP so that our characters can break the enemy. Especially if you get a Revenant, it can be annoying because they have like 7 shields or something. And also you can miss because these enemies are, you know, level 50 and you're level 1. Here I just use Howl to reduce the number of shields. I really want to just defeat them and get out of this place, or break them and get out of this place. So using Strengthening plus Whimsical brings everyone to the front of the turn order, and that'll be useful for breaking these guys before they take a turn. They're really dangerous if they take turns. And now that they're broken, we just get out of here. I think that they do have actually useful steals or something, possibly, maybe like L-Stones or something, I don't remember. But you don't want to take the chance, you don't want to take extra turns or anything. Best to just get out of there. Giant's Club is really useful, but it is annoying that we have to take like 6 or so extra encounters or 7 encounters to get it. So if I could, I would route it out, but it would take some thinking and stuff. And some planning. Okay, so we just did chapter 2 with Terra. Earlier we did her chapter 2 with Acta, and now we're gonna go to our last chapter 2, which is with Glacies, and that's in Stormhail. And that means that we have to defeat the guard up here and go through the mountain pass. To defeat the guard, you have to use either Oshet or Casti, because Hikari does not have the levels to challenge the person, Throne will never get the levels to knock him out either. Defeating him with Provoke is very slow, so we want to put him to sleep, and he needs an Herb of Serenity, which is one of the reasons why we collected a few throughout the run. This mountain pass is not super dangerous. We can actually defeat most of the enemies in here, but there's one enemy that you have to put to sleep, so you have to leave Casti in the front. I actually forget which enemy it is initially, so I put this enemy to sleep, but I didn't need to put this enemy to sleep. You can catapult this enemy and defeat it. but I only just realized right after I use it, and then I decided to just flee anyway. Basically, there's like a great Monkey King enemy, and you cannot defeat that with Catapult. You have to put it to sleep and run because he's super tanky and strong. So my hope is to not get that enemy coming up. Unfortunately, I do get the enemy, and that is the left guy here, I believe. He's very, very tanky and bulky, so you want to put him to sleep and flee. It's like one of the monkeys that actually appears near Merry Hills, so he's very strong. This is the only item we want to get here. This cave actually has a lot of useful items, like in terms of gold, but you don't want to get extra encounters. It's very annoying. So just get that necklace because it gives a lot of accuracy, 80, which is useful throughout the whole run, and then get out of here. Also, right after we get it, we want to put it onto Throne right away, along with the Giant's Club that we just picked up. It's just a little faster menuing to do it here and do both of them at the same time. So here you're guaranteed 1 encounter, possibly 2, but you will again want to just put them to sleep and run away. This is faster than defeating the enemies, by the way, because we don't get the victory screen. It's slower than YOLO fleeing, of course, but you're almost never going to successfully YOLO flee. So here we're going to provoke and flee, and that just resets the encounters, because we're almost going to get another encounter, and we don't want that. So we challenge, we flee. It hurts our reputation, but we don't really care about that. We're not going to mess it up enough times to have to pay money, and it's not going to matter. So we provoke 2 of these NPCs. That's to get as close to the town as possible, and to reset our steps along the way. And now we just walk to the town, and you're very likely to just get there without an encounter, so which is nice. I'm pretty sure it's faster to just take those 2 and flee than to take an encounter and flee, but I'm not 100% sure. But at worst, it's close, and you save concoct material, so it is nice. So Oshet's chapters are actually reasonably straightforward. Mostly it's like maybe do a provoke, but then just go straight up and go to the dangerous area. Here we have a provoke coming up, and I captured a wild mole earlier that does a 2x dagger attack, and that's going to be useful for the provoke. We're going to want to break it and then summon Terra, and then that just defeats it right away. It's faster if you have like enough soul stones to just chuck the soul stones, but for us we want to conserve our resources if possible. Also, this guy can hit a decent amount, which is one of the reasons why we want armor before this fight. Fighting this guy at level 1 without armor is generally not a good idea. Like here I don't take any damage because of turn order, but if I was unlucky it would be a little more annoying. And once he's broken with the daggers, Terra will easily clear him. You'll also notice that I haven't really like menued at all. I wanted to just minimize the number of menus I had to do, especially even with like step ahead, to not need that. So that was one of the reasons why it's routed the way I did it. So here I should actually be running because the cutscene's actually relatively close, and you're gonna get it soon, so you might as well run to trigger it. But oh well, it's fine. It's just like me pointing out stuff that would have been slightly more optimal for me to do, or if you're doing this run yourself or something, in my opinion. Also, you might not be able to tell, but I am running on those ladders. Again, it's nice because it doesn't increase the steps. Here I should probably have actually just save and quit to avoid the encounter, maybe? Although I don't know if that's actually faster. It's probably not, actually. But you can put him to sleep, flee, like usual. And then, once again, you really want to go to nighttime before the boss. And to not forget that. You also want to hit the nighttime trigger as close to the cutscene as possible, to reduce the chance of another encounter beforehand. So yeah, we crit scope to fracture damage, we defend to bring everyone up with concoct. Whimsical, diffusing, strengthening, and palm. That gives everyone 2 BP and brings them all to the front of the turn order. Sixfold will take off 3 shields, I believe. Yes, 3 shields. And then spring boots will bring Ochette to the front because she wants to capture soon. And then with precise shot, you can do 5 hits to break him. Even just an X2 hastening hammer does cap damage when he's broken, when the enemy is broken with crit scope. Piercing thrust does a sizable amount of damage, 4k. You do want to hit at least 4k because this attack will do cap, and the next attack will do cap. So if you count all that damage together, it's actually 50k worth of damage. But he has about 54k HP, so you do want to do the Kaishi no Yardi, the piercing thrust spear attack. And also because we spring booted Ochette, she went first for the capture. Also, when I did Lionheart Axe with Throne, I did the lower amount of boost first, then the higher boost, because Lionheart increases your HP. So if you have, say, like 5 BP, you want to do boost with 2 BP, and then the next boost with 3 BP. Because after Lionheart increases your HP, you no longer have peak performances boost. And without peak performances boost, you'll do less damage. So if you have extra BP, you want to save it for the second hit. Here, I mentioned earlier that I was thinking about defeating cats for the money, and that's what I did there. But at this point, I actually don't need the money because I sold the rusty weapons, so that was actually unnecessary. I could have just defeated them normally and fled or something. But whatever, it's fine. Cats are also immune to sleep, by the way, so you cannot put them to sleep, and you shouldn't try to. These guys, though, are animal types and still able to be put to sleep. It's really the machines and the non-humanoids that can't be put to sleep. Like the sentinels, they cannot be put to sleep. And you'll see that later when we get to Rogue's Factory. A lot of those are machine type enemies, and you can't put them to sleep. So here, because I get the encounter so close to the town, I choose not to tag the town. Sometimes, depending on when you get it, if you can get to the town without the encounter, you should tag it and then leave and pick up the Herb of Serenity. But here, I got it really close to the town, so I will just pick up the Herb of Serenity and then tag the town, because I'm not going to get an extra encounter, given how close I got it to the town. Now we will TP out of here, and we're gonna go to Rogue Island. The whole reason why we do this trip here and now is because we also the dark thing triggers at a certain point after a certain number of chapters. Based on the order we do it, it always triggers there, and it's quite nice because we actually go straight onto the boat. But anyways, we wanted to go to Merry Hills because we want the Herb of Serenity, because there's a soothe coming up, and you need 2 Herb of Serenities, and yeah, you'll see that. We defeat this guard, or we provoke and flee, just like earlier near Stormhail, because we want to minimize the number of encounters. And we're only going to get 1 encounter, because we have a lot of NPCs that we can provoke and flee from. Okay, so I'm going to mention a mistake that I made earlier in the run. When I picked up Temenos, I was supposed to buy the Herb of Serenity nearby, but I wasn't paying attention and I didn't. It's not one of those things where I neglected something, and I'm going to pay for that when I get to the town, you'll see. But basically I just messed up. It's not that big a deal of a time loss, but it is just a little annoying. Okay, so I mentioned it, but we do provoke and flee these guys to reset the encounters. And this is the last guy we provoke and flee. And provoke is just really useful for this, so we can get less encounters. It's still pretty safe even if we got the encounters, because we just put them to sleep, and we have the champ belt, so we won't get surprised. But avoiding them is just altogether better. This is just to replenish latents, because we're gonna have some battles coming up, and we want latent for the bosses. Alright, this guy I have to put to sleep with 2 Herb of Serenities, and I do not have them. And here I am questioning why I don't have them, and then I realize where I messed up. So I have to get Particio back in so I can buy it. And it's this NPC that I was supposed to buy from earlier, but I just forgot. The reason why we want to go to Rogue Island, by the way, and get those Herb Absurdities is to use those Herb Absurdities though, is because inside of this house is 3 rejuvenating gems, and those are like the best restoratives in the game. They fully heal HP, SP, BP, and full latent, and these are the only ones in the entire game. Their efficiency is so useful. It allows us to do fights differently and just more conveniently. And we specifically need it right now because the upcoming boss, it's really useful to have. It is actually possible to do it without that thing, but then you need bonus damage in a different way, or to rely on turn order. Originally, I wasn't getting those rejuvenating gems, and then I was using other things. Like I was actually using the ice weapon we got from the Glacius boss to do boosted soulstones worth of damage. But I think it's better to just get those 3 because they also help later on with other fights. And you need to tag Rogue Island eventually, so it's better to just do it now. Like, it's worth doing it now. And we walk here because we want to skip the encounter. It's very important you go to night before this battle. These enemies are immune to sleep. All the shadow enemies are immune to sleep, so you're gonna see how annoying they are at the end section. But also we have to defeat these enemies. I put Step Ahead on Throne and I took it off Casty, and that's because Throne and Ochette are needed to clear these enemies. We have to catapult them all, and at the same time also Warlord Spear them all. Okay, so earlier in total I've gotten up to this point 4 rusty weapons for the Arms Master class. Each of the rusty weapons has a different property, and the skills have a different like bonus effect. Okay, the spear that I have and I kept, and the axe I kept, these 2 are the most useful Arms Master weapons. The spear does 10% extra damage per enemy. So for example, with 3 enemies, the spear does 30% extra damage to each of them. With 2 enemies, it'd be 20%, and so on. In addition to that, every single enemy I defeat with the spear will get me a BP back. That's actually never useful in this run because I either defeat the enemies or I have someone else attack, and I don't use the BP. But it is nice. It was like nice in other runs that I've done. But more importantly, the spear is just good for AoE damage along with the catapult, and especially when the mob is very big, it can out damage catapult, which is nice. Okay, I mentioned that these shadow enemies can't be put to sleep, so I'm gonna go to night right here and force a battle, because you always get a battle before leaving this map, and you do not want it to be daytime during the battle because you cannot defeat it. So it's better to just force it at night and take it, and then defeat it, and then defeat it and move on. If we could put it to sleep, it would be different, but oh well. And fortunately, because of travel banters, which is basically the chats between the characters in the party, if you trigger one of those during certain cutscenes, you can skip the encounter. So like this one right here, it resets my steps. So now I can walk very slowly, and I'm very likely to skip the second encounter, which is very nice. I do want a menu here before the boss. The champion's belt that Ochette has on, I want to put on the Throne because Throne cannot hit cap against his boss. The stats of the boss are too high, and in order for Throne to hit cap, she needs the champion's belt. Champion's belt with the upgraded accessories ability, sports skill, gives 150 attack and the crit, and that is enough to hit cap. Temenos will also get the unerring bracelet because the boss's evasion is actually pretty high, and the boss can dodge your attacks more likely. So the bracelet guarantees Temenos does not miss, and stuff is very, very bad if you miss this boss. Like, yeah. Also, you get an auto heal before the boss, which is why I didn't bother healing HP or SP or anything. You do not get a latent auto heal, unfortunately, though. You almost never do in this game. It always just heals HP and SP. And then Ochette's first turn is scripted to always summon that thing, and it's very annoying because you would want a free turn if possible. But okay, Cassie does AoE BP concoct, so everyone has enough BP to do their things. Throne will always be able to max boost her Lionheart axe, and if she went like before Throne, she could just reinforcing gem into it as well. It's equivalent. She either reinforcing gem first, and then max Lionheart, or Lionheart and then reinforcing. And then this turn she always has enough BP to do max Lionheart again. And now she's out of SP, so she needs a rejuvenating gem and restore everything. And for the next burst of damage, we hastening hammer here because we do need some chip damage to get the guy down. Then we do her latent to hit cap again, and then more Lionhearts to hit cap. And now we boost again, this time with max BP. And then a piercing thrust will finish. So I used hastening hammer with Ochette, and then I used beastly fang, the latent ability. You could also beastly fang and then boost a hastening hammer, but the hastening hammer is actually stronger, so you want that to be the unboosted hit because you'll get a little bit more damage out of it. It's not as relevant now because I actually have a free turn at the end, but it used to be relevant when the damage was tighter and I had routed it differently. So I'm not 100% certain this is like optimal. I think that this is probably not optimal, but I choose to get Alpione's necklace amulet here because the damage bump from it is actually useful for a couple bosses coming up. I also have menu here because in order to get the information from the NPC outside, I want Temenos to coerce because I don't want to tavern Hikari in for just one information. Or like to get like Oswald or anyone. So it's better for Temenos to just coerce and be able to break right away if possible. And for that, Warrior's most useful. I also want to just do the chapters of the characters I have right now, and for Temenos' chapters, he has some coerces, and it's useful for him to have a warrior for those coerces. But still, that course is very, very slow because it's a lot slower than bribes or scroots. But it's fine. Alpione's amulet is the most useful accessory we get in the entire run, pretty much. It gives a 3x multiplier at 1 HP, or virtually 3x. It's more like 2.999999 or something. And that's very useful for getting a strong damage multiplier. But also, it gives 1200 HP as a base, and with upgraded accessories, that's 1800 HP, and that's very useful for the mugs and also the challenges when we have to defeat some strong enemies. So there you saw me take off Imperial Armor and then put it back on along with Alpione's. That's because it sets it sets the HP to 200, and then it sets the max HP to like 2800, and that means that you're gonna get a bonus because Alpione's amulet gives bonus damage relative to how much your HP is, and with very low HP out of very high HP, you're gonna get a bigger boost of damage. I believe when I calculated this, the 200 out of like 2800 is about 2.54x damage. You do lose peak performance, but peak performance is 1.5x, so you still get a sizable damage bump. The only thing I'm not sure about at this point is the step ahead routing. It's probably more optimal to take them off and then just put them back on later, but each of the characters actually does want step ahead for something, so that's why I chose to leave it on here, but you'll see. You'll notice that Casti is our catapulter now, and Ochette is not our catapulter, I mean our inventor. That's because Ochette going forward is just going to be spamming the beast, and because she's spamming the beast, we want someone else to be inventor because there's sometimes when we want to crit scope or to clear encounters and such. But I'm not like 100% sure on this, but that's just how I did it anyway. And then Temenos is warrior because we want him as warrior for his coerces, and then Throne was already Arms Master, so we just leave her on Arms Master because it's a useful class to have for defeating some enemies and for breaking too. Arms Master gets access to all of the weapon types for doing damage, and that's nice. Here you need an X3 and an X2 Hastening Hammer or Lionheart in either order. So here I did Lionheart X2 and Hastening Hammer X3. I'm gonna skip ahead because I think I went to the bathroom here. But I could also have done Hastening Hammer X2 and then Lionheart X3. Alright, here I came back from the bathroom. And with that we cleared another chapter. So since Oshat's chapters are done, the next thing I wanted to do was to just clear the characters in the party and then start swapping them out and doing everyone's chapters. I'm not 100% sure, but it might be worth getting Agnia's chapters done sooner to unlock the bodyguard vantage, but I'm not 100% sure on that. That's a shield that gives attack and accuracy, and that's actually really useful for us because the accuracy lets us skip missing some enemies and things, but oh well. It's also slow to tavern people in and out, so that's why it's a little annoying. So after we do Casties, we do Temenoses, and the order I chose to do these, there wasn't like any specific order that I could tell was optimal. I mainly just routed it so that we would use the inn after a certain number of provoked casts. That way we can skip out on using plums and stuff. And by that I mean Temenos' story actually has him visiting the inns a lot, and because of that, routing those in between the casts of provoke lets us skip using plums, and also just healing in general, which is nice. But I don't know if that's optimal, but it's fine. Like, I don't think there's a huge difference. Most of these chapters, you can't really do it much faster. Cause like we never gain support skills or anything. So, like for example, we're never gonna break this guy in one turn, you know. Okay, so aggressive slash has a relatively fast animation compared to some other multi-hits, so that's quite nice. And with the accuracy gear that Temenos has on, he will never miss a hit. I believe I have both the ring and the bracelet on, so he has a lot of accuracy. Up there's another slumber sage if I wanted it, but I don't need those anymore. This is a very small dungeon. I'm pretty much over halfway done already, you see, and I just entered it. There I went to the left because I'm not used to it, but it's fine. Cassie is also nice as our catapulter because she does have default axe, so it's easy to just catapult right away rather than to tab to something. Not super important, but it's nice to have. V-Day is a pretty weak boss, has like 15k HP or something, so pretty easy to defeat. Lionheart, and then Hastening Hammer, and you defeat him. And then we leave Temenos with step ahead because he still has coerces. And now that we've cleared Throne Chapter 2 and Temenos Chapter 2, like at least one of each, we get access to the cross path, which is nice. But I guess I don't do it right away. I guess I do this right away. I don't actually remember the order I do everything in perfectly, but... So yeah, for now, we'll just be doing story stuff and like kind of plowing through the chapters as much as we can. We have menued our characters with certain jobs and such, so, and also the support skills, so we won't be changing stuff for a little while. A lot of Octopath speedruns try to minimize the amount of like menus or just make them smoother and such. I try to do my best here, but it's hard to be optimal when you're the only one doing a run and optimizing it and the only one testing things. So I don't think that everything's optimal, but I think that things are sufficient at least. Also, you know, F for Crick. Good guy, unfortunately. Very sad. Here, your fast travel is locked until you go trigger the cutscene. So you have to go down via this path. And yeah, for now we just follow Crick. You want to be tight in your movement and just hit the loading zones, you know, as close to the edge as possible without extra steps. You don't have to wait for Crick to go to the rooms and such. You can run ahead of him and trigger things. And then a dungeon coming up as well soon. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about step ahead. Okay, so we have step ahead on 3 of the characters, and ideally you want to minimize the number of characters who have step ahead. But when I was routing and doing different tests and stuff, I found that it's very hard to do these battles with just 2 characters, because usually you'll want to either break or give extra BP to Ochette so that she can summon her monsters. But the thing is, like, if one character gives BP to Ochette and then like one person either spring boots Ochette or Ochette defends, then there's no one else left over to like break the enemy or like to push the turn order around. There's no like auxiliary turn. For regular any person, I believe that what they do is have 2 people with step ahead, and usually like Temenos will have like boost start and be able to break the enemy or something. For us, it's a little harder, I think, to do because we do not have boost start, and also we can't like launch a divine right off the bat. We have to have full BP on Ochette for her to summon maximum Glacies, and in order to do that, I think you need 3 people with step ahead to make things consistent. That or you swap step ahead on and off, but that gets annoying, so I want to minimize that. So usually going forward, what we're gonna do is like something like give BP to Ochette. Ochette will defend, and someone will either help break or reduce shields or something else. Maybe get crit scope up or something. Once again, we'll go to nighttime before the battle. Oh, also having a spare turn to use plums if necessary is nice, to guarantee that we can have enough BP, SP. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure about like the step ahead usage, but for the most part it works, and it's nice for getting past these bosses. So, and that was the first usage of the provoke beast glitch that you saw. Basically, we can summon Glacies more than one time, and that's by exiting the provoke menu with the latent. So that's quite nice. Okay, so now we will do Throne's other chapter, and we're kind of just rotating around doing the chapters and such. There's not really any useful items we want to get here. There is a light sheet that's convenient and close, so we do pick that up. But otherwise, nothing else we need, and we're just gonna defeat the enemies and move on to the boss as soon as possible. Also, some characters are more physically inclined, and others are more elementally inclined. Cassidy is more physically inclined, so having her as the inventor is nice because she does more damage than, say, Temenos. Okay, so after this cutscene, enemies no longer spawn, so you can pick up this lychee pretty safely. Okay, in this orphanage, there is a noxious needle, and I never actually got it in routing or anything, but this is the other item in the game that guarantees poison. Earlier I mentioned that the bottle toxins was mandatory because it guarantees poison. The noxious needle in this orphanage also guarantees poison, but it's only 2 turns, and we don't want to do Throne Chapter 2 in order to get that item. So so I routed the bottle toxins in, put toxins in over it. That cutscene is a strange one because you can't skip it for some reason. I don't know why. But the noxious needle, cool item, but not available. Not useful for us anyway. Unfortunately, the enemies in these maps are strong enough that we do need to defend and then use the BP. Also, I'm gonna cut it off after we do the boss battle, and the next part will be in the next video because it's been pretty much over an hour. We do the cutscene here for the travel bantho to reset the steps. But I did do it like a little bit early, so it is a little tight, but I think I do get lucky here and skip the encounter, which is nice. You do want to just be tight with your steps, though. I was probably pretty close, I think. Oh, this is another reason why we want step ahead. I mean, 3 people step ahead. It's because sometimes we'll want Casti to use Forget Me Do on the enemy, like Mother. Mother and some other enemies have this 1 HP gate, where basically they will always survive with 1 HP. No matter how much, like, you do 1,000,000 damage on turn 1, and they're gonna survive with 1 HP because they have to do their scripted talk. You can skip that with Abating Orb, the Hunter skill, but we can't get that skill in a level 1 run. So in order to skip it, we use Forget Me Do, and only Casti can do it. And because of that, it's useful for her to be locked into the party as our starting character. But also, we want her to have step ahead so she can use it on the enemy. And then another enemy will want to put BP on Oshet, and Oshet will want to defend, and then, you know, use the monster summons as soon as possible. Also, here I am gonna cut the video, and you can watch the next one.